This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so what you're looking at here is a service that we offer here called Insight, and just the way this system works, right now we have a Print.6 software installation working at Indecom. Indecom has been running it for a period of time. So far, it's been about 87 days in total that it's been tracking. What happens is this happened about how long ago, Junior, did this happen? A couple of weeks ago. We had a meeting with Indecom to pull the data out
Yeah,
of the system, and
right.
we loaded it into here.
Okay,
So
just to clarify though, the 87 days was the amount of days that they had tracked it, not to say that it's currently running and this is day 88, right?
yeah, so this is from the time the software was first installed to the time we did the extraction. There was 87
Mhm.
days worth of data.
I believe that was in September or October last year.
That's
So
correct.
right, there you go.
Okay. During that time, we tracked 45 users. Those 45 users over the course of time click print 8,500 times, which produced 20.
5,800.
Sorry,
5,800.
5,800 times.
Okay.
That produced 26,000 sheets of paper.
All right. So
Okay.
they killed three trees.
We got a total of 3 trees.
Mhm.
So the average job size, this means every time they click print, the average size is 4.5 pages, which is
Mhm.
higher than what we normally see. Normally, we see this about 3.5, so they're just above what we typically see.
All right. And I can explain that on their behalf. Remember, they're an investigative body. So a lot of
Exactly.
what they do involve rich photos as evidence.
Exactly, which would also come up to the understanding of why their web and email print in color is coming up at 36%. Now, what
Okay.
this number means is when you're in Outlook, when you're in any web browser, so Chrome, Safari, Firefox, you name it, how much of that is coming out in color? And at this point, it's almost 40%.
Is
In
that how far above average is that?
so in most organizations, when we do this outside of their specific industry, when we do this, this is typically about 15%.
Ooh, okay.
And we always try and target it and say, listen, you're doing about 15%. We try and target it down to say, okay, we want to get you down to 10% or lower. A lot of the times this comes out of email. Now, I noticed that I don't see a lot of Outlook being printed. In fact, I don't even see, as you can see when I scroll down the application list here, there really isn't a lot in coming out of Outlook. It's not even registering at this point. So that's a good thing. What this means, though, is that Word, Chrome, Adobe PDF, and Excel are their top applications that they're using.
I think they use Outlook Web Access, which may be delivered to them through Microsoft, through Google Chrome.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And of course, everywhere I go nowadays, Google Chrome seems to be the de facto browser for everyone.
Yes, same here.
Um, you will see on the left-hand side here the top 10 users. That is by total page volume. So Latoya King here is by far the highest usage out of this customer environment, and then Nigel Morgan's number 2. Keisha Houghton is number 3. If I
Let's
look
hope those are investigators or admin staff.
if I look here, what I see is there's no difference, and this obviously goes with the high amount of color that these people are producing. The top 10 users by color page volume is almost a mirror image, so there's not a lot of difference between the two. It's not as if one person is printing more color. So what that tells me is that a lot of this is just business to business stuff.
Okay.
If I look at the top 10 most printed documents, and what we do is we take the document name and we say out of this, how much is actually being printed repetitively. And you'll see, of course, as we stated, full page photo, 805 times produced, 1,200 pages. And that falls directly in line. Now, here's a couple of things that we can see. One of the things that I will absolutely commend them on, and I've never, I've done hundreds and hundreds of these assessments. If you look at the pie chart on the left-hand side, the duplexing is at almost 70%. I've never come across that in any organization.
This is a very special customer to us, to be frank. Just the very nature of their business. But I've always been impressed with their IT team, how they're able to really passively but effectively command control of their environment in such a manner that everyone is cooperative. So I believe they may have probably a year or so ago what they're buying into encouraging users to do duplexing, or it could be actually no. I think their IT manager set the duplex option as a default option for the printers.
Yes.
But one of the things that I recall he said to is that the machines are multifunction devices, the HPs, and he has set it in such a way that once you copy, it automatically copies in monochrome, and only various users have the privilege of overriding that to produce color copies. So they do have some tight controls in place that I believe your software tool is going to help them take it to the next level. So this is good.
Absolutely. And what I will tell you is most of the time, and I see this a lot, IT will come up with it and they will change all the print drivers for everybody to duplex, right, by default. So that means you have to go back into the print driver and change it to single-sided. In those types of organizations, I only ever see the duplexing hit about 25%. So this organization showing it at 68%, they should be, I mean, there should be an award for that. That's amazing.
I will note that for sure, because one of the things I want to do when I hit them with this data, I don't want to just focus on the negatives. I want to highlight, these points of interest. So one of the things I would love for you to do when we're finished here is kind of send me like a benchmark to work with to say, okay, on average, duplexing is 25%. You're way above that at 70%. So this is to your credit, and to have that type of discussion.
Absolutely, because they've done an amazing job on that, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So you see these two pie charts on the right-hand side, job to job size, and what this means is how many times do I click print, and what are the job sizes? Now we break them down between 1 and 3, 4 and 25, 26 and 50, and 50 plus jobs. And you can see here 77% of the time those end users are clicking print. It's a job between 1 and 3 pages.
Good.
Now when you take a look at the pages to job size, so if you think about this pie chart as 100% of the meters, only 38% of those meters are between 1 and 3 pages.
All right. I'm having a hard time wrapping my brain around that. Help me dumb this down for me, please.
So 26%, 26,000 pages. 38% of them were from 77% of the activity.
38% of them from 77%.
So if you look at this, 1 to 3 page category represents 10,000 pages out of 26.
Okay. So it's not really consistent with Pareto analysis. So you ideally want to get them to the 80-20 rule.
Well, this falls in line. So what it shows you here is that this is very much true. End users do not print out very large documents a lot of the time. Okay. What they typically do is they do this. Now, I'll show you this. If I click into the 50 plus page job, you'll see the whole system will update to show me who's printing off those large documents. Okay, and it'll take 2 seconds here for us to update it. As you can see, it's spinning a little bit here. But as I focus in on that, the duplexing information doesn't change. Most of the times when I do these types of things, there's always a room for optimization in duplex, especially on those large jobs. But in this case, I don't think there is. And that's very commendable in this case. I think it's a really good job. You bear with me here because this one seems to be going awfully slow this morning. I think it's more along it's my computer more than anything else, just because I've been removing some software off of my computer and it's taken up a little bit of resources here. So bear with me.
That's fine. No need to apologize. We're here. I expect to see Keisha Atterbury's name come up in this about 50 job page scenario. She's in charge of corporate services, so she's one of those power users that will
Hmm.
be printing a lot. Interestingly, she had told us about a print job where she sent for 1,000 pages, and she wasn't happy with how long the machine took. So the one of the things I think in the pipeline for her is to give her a 60 page per minute machine instead of the 30 page per minute machine she has.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, that's ideal, right? What I find these days is you're not giving out those high speeds and feeds multifunction printers because they're doing a lot of volume. It's just the types of jobs they're doing. They want them to come out just as fast as they would with, let's say, a 25 to 35 page per minute device.
Yeah, which I think is kind of unreasonable for printers, but hey, that's just how it is.
But you can see here, now that I filtered in the 50 plus page job, you'll see that 97% of that was duplexed.
So
So
there's a
there's,
lot.
it's amazing. I'll be honest with you, it's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, even every single organization I've come into, when I focus in on those large jobs, typically it's maybe about 30% of those are duplexed. This is by far the gold standard, if you must.
Paul, here, this is music to my ears, and I'm actually gonna make a suggestion to you here. When we get to the point of costing, which I'm sure we're gonna get to very soon, but in much the same way you're presenting this data to us, when I'm ready to present to the client, could you help with that to highlight these things so eloquently?
I would be more than happy to set up a webinar exactly like this.
Okay, good. Because that is we one of the I mean that is gonna allow us to get the best price possible for the opportunity here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's a
Now,
lot of all of this, so I can
what
charge
you
them.
if you look at the costing price here, the way this is set up, because we don't know how much they're actually spending, it
Hmm.
defaults to a penny and a half mono and 6 cents color. And it doesn't matter what printer they're printing to, this is an average.
If we were able to give you the estimates for the color printers that they have, the HPs, would you be able to plug that in to get a more accurate picture?
I Unfortunately, it can't break it down by printer. It can only do it as an average across the whole organization.
Oh, I see. All right. Tell you what, if I give the industry standard here in Jamaica,
Uh-huh.
is usually around 15 cents color and 4 cents monochrome.
Okay. So 15 and 4 you said?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just
That's
change
not what
that.
they're paying, of course, because they're not working with us. But um, 15 cents color and 4 cents monochrome.
Okay. And then 4 cents monochrome. Let's see if I don't even know if I've got it in here at 4.
PPP mono.
I top it at 3 cents.
Oh, that's the maximum you go?
Yeah.
All right, well, they'll use 3 cents because I can tell you they're paying way less with us. They're not on a cost per copy basis. They buy their toners directly from
Yeah.
us. So we'll have to kind of do some manual computations there. The only dark horse in this is the fact that they still have, unfortunately, um, some higher Sierra machines, but in another 3 to 6 months, those will be out.
Okay, that's good to know. When I look at this, there's a couple of things that I see. So I just changed that costing. So on average, we're looking at $2,600 for the time of this assessment is what we think they may have been charged. If I look at this
Is
per
that-
user, that's about $58 US per user.
Okay.
And $51 of that is their color cost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Maybe there are about 45 users, right?
Absolutely. Now I'm
Yeah.
going to go down here and I'm going to show you the most used printers are the HPs. And these are done by models. These aren't done by individual devices. You'll see the Kyocera is coming up here in third.
Is that one Kyocera you picked up?
This is the model, and I'll show you what you do. In this case, if I hit, if I right-click this, there's this little feature here called drill through. And if I go into the printer details drill through, it'll give me, yeah, I'm only tracking one device.
Good.
Okay.
A year ago, it was all Kyocera, and we just disrupted that. So we just have one more machine to target. Oh, and we got that out. We delivered a new printer to them last week. So,
Well, there you
yeah.
go. So it's one thing when I do demonstrations though, I typically don't go down here unless people specifically ask.
I'm going to ask you.
If I look at this this device here, you've got two 700s, HP LaserJet 700, 775s.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're located close to each other or not, but you can see that there's a bit of a difference, a discrepancy in the volumes that they're doing.
Or what to answer that, they have a model where, first of all, what this is highlighting is that unfortunately we are not picking up their satellite locations, the locations that are considered remote, out of town, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I think what we have been picking up is their two Kingston-based locations, which are two buildings that are close to each other.
Okay.
Their model is for their head office, one big printer, which is the M775, supports each floor. And you
Yes.
will see some M477s, which are strategically positioned to their C-level executives and HR who would actually need that facility for confidentiality reasons, of course. Speaking of which, did you pick up anything from the M477s?
Let me go back here just a second.
Sure.
I believe
Yeah,
these are it here.
that's it. Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's fine.
Let me just go take a look here and just take a look. Yeah, so we got them 477s.
Right. So you see that most of them are quote unquote locally connected, and then the rest are on the wireless network.
Yeah.
Good. No, their flagship machine will be the M775. They love it. So we have now positioned four of them in their environment. So unfortunately, you're only picking up two. I'm sorry. They have, at the time of the assessment, three of those machines, two at the head office and one in their Montego Bay office, which I don't think their networks are connected. So you're seeing two right there is just representing the first floor and the second floor. The
Yeah.
third floor now is where that Carcera was, that the machine that we delivered to them last week will be replacing.
Okay. And that makes sense. If I look at the documents that they're producing, it's all business as well. There's nothing in here that would say you're printing non-business printing stuff at work. So that's always a good thing as well. But I'm assuming that just because of the nature of their work, they will most likely have some internet restrictions. Is that the case?
I believe so. I
Yeah.
think IT may have a difference of opinion with that though, or I will ask you to drill further into the information because while doing the evaluation, he periodically checked the job log and said
Uh-huh.
it was very eye-opening what he was seeing. So by that, I believe he means that he is identifying some instances of abuse. Yeah. So he might want to challenge that data. So be prepared for that, please.
Yeah, no worries. We can definitely talk about what data sets it picks up. But yeah, I mean, overall, these guys are doing a very good job of managing their output as it is, and I get it that their color pages are 40 to 50% of their output. These are the months. So January. So we got December. If I it Unfortunately this one goes a little backwards, but you've got October,
Yeah.
November, December, and January.
Okay. All
So
right.
obviously, December with most likely holidays, the volume was a little bit lower. With November, it looks like that's probably the clearest set of data, and you can actually drill in to take a look at what's going on here in that particular set. And you can see here what happens is it actually shows you, in this case, it was 28 total days of tracking, 38 users, but it was still about 10,000 pages, so there's still quite a bit there. 2,300 print jobs.
Yeah, I realize that they're averaging between 10 and 15,000 pages a month
Yeah,
when I run a report on IDN.
yeah, and just be cognizant that this is only print, and the stuff you're picking up from IDM would be life count of the device, which would include copy.
Okay, right.
Right. So the two numbers are never going to match up. Just because we're only looking at this point, we're only looking at the metrics when an end user clicks print, and that's looking at the whole thing. What's happening to the entire device at any given time.
Okay.
Okay, so this is like I said. I mean, it's very good. It's a really good data set. I think.
All right. This one here, school-based oral health, that file. Oh, we go back to the title of the document.
Yeah,
School-based oral health handbook. Right.
yeah.
Those are among those are for me that looks like an eye opener. That sounds like a school project being done. Because I mean I'm not sure what oral health school based. I mean I know they do forensics and all that, but
Well, whoever printed it 6 times,
all right. So
and
here's a question now. Here's a question. I'm just being the IT manager, Marla now. Who printed it?
so from this set, I cannot tell. That we'd have to go into the system backend, into the
Uh,
printout at six software, and take a look at it specifically.
okay.
But this
And we
system here
have
does.
that, right?
Yeah, we sort of protect that in this case, just because it might be sensitive data, and we don't want it to go back too far.
Mhm.
Because at this point, you've got multiple people looking at it. But yeah, on the on-site side, we can definitely pinpoint when this actually happened and who printed it.
Oh, fair enough. So he does have that data and control.
Yeah. Now, mind you, this is a PDF, so if I go into a Core 32, you can actually see it a little bit more. So if I go to See Records, and it's just a simple right click and go in, it'll bring me up the pages by application. Oh, it just logged me out. Sorry. It'll bring me up the pages by application for that particular one.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just go back in here and take a look at it again. But this is, like I said, this is a shining example of, this is a customer who's got a lot of high volume, and they've taken steps to say, listen, we know what our high volumes are, and we know how to control it and manage it. So these guys are doing a very good job at this.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
So I don't know if that's something to be something you want to commend them on or not, but it is definitely a good thing to talk to them about.
I definitely will.
School-based.
And I think it's going to be more coming from you too. So. Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. There we go. All right. Let me sort it by document name here.
All right. You don't have to identify them. I'm seeing that you can drill down, which I'm just playing devil's advocate here. When he's seeing this data now, he's gonna definitely wanna ask these questions. So I'm glad to see that you have the technology to just get it right there and even show him how to do that.
Yeah, and I can. The other thing that we can do, if you're willing to, we could give the end user access to this for a period of time, so that they can look at it themselves offline. Um, the same way that you have a login to this, we can get them a login.
Okay, perfect. I prepared to do that, but once we have the discussion with them, that's when we'll action it.
Okay, good stuff. And yeah, that's
One
honestly
thing
that's
to
about.
remember, one thing to remember, they were evaluating another software before PaperCut with
Uh-huh.
another vendor. So I really want this to blow them away. They didn't get anywhere with it, to be frank. And we're seeing we clearly have a need for this software tool, so we want to close this deal as best as possible. So any add-ons or value-added services that you can offer to help swing that deal, we would have definitely appreciated.
Absolutely, and I will tell you, just because I know them, I know that competitive software very, very well. Um,
Mhm.
this system here picks up more data from every single print job than any other product on the market today.
Ah, okay.
So, absolutely, I mean that
You
one
can
is
play
very,
around print audit 6 on that IUM?
yeah, even print out at 6. So
Wow.
print out at 6 and IUM will pick up more data than PaperCut does. Where PaperCut works best, to be honest, is in universities and colleges where the students have their own laptops and they want to be able to pay for those prints on campus. That is their wheelhouse. That's where they do things really well. We don't go anywhere near those types of markets, right? Where our market is exactly where Indecom is, in those high security uh, areas where they want to look at their stuff, they want to optimize it, and they want a secure print functionality.
All right. You're providing some great insights here. We'll talk more about that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, listen. That's pretty much everything I wanted to show for you, Junior. Everyone. So I think next steps. Let's see if we can get a time. I will shoot you an email with some times that I'm available for next week. And
Mhm.
let's see if we can get the customer into a a half-hour conversation, just to show them the stuff that we've collected. I don't know if there's not, to be honest, there's not too much that we can do to optimize what they're currently doing. But I think just getting that insight into this is what you're currently doing might prove valuable enough for them.
Sure, but prepare us though as a dealer. We are willing to pay for this software.
Uh-huh.
What should we be charging them? What versus what our input costs would be? And would you recommend an annual subscription versus a monthly subscription?
So the way we actually, I don't know if you follow any of the news of this industry, but we back in December we were bought out by a company called ECI.
Right, I'm familiar with that.
Okay, so we've changed the way the pricing works on this.
Hmm.
In this case here, you're looking at, and let me just see if I can grab the price list here, and I'll tell you. I will have to get someone involved to give you a more accurate price, because I'm not the one who's doing the pricing on this. But in this case here, for this particular customer, and let me just load this up here. My Excel's a little slow again because I got other products working in the background here.
Okay. Well,
So
yeah.
at,
Oh,
at
go
this
ahead.
point, you're looking at it's about $250 per month.
That's our input cost.
That would be what we would charge you. Now, there's a setup fee on top of that, especially with IUM. There would be a separate setup fee for that. But at this point, yeah, that's what you'd be looking at for this organization, $250 a month, and that would cover them up to 100. Up what we're calling them units, but it's up to 100. So 100 users. or 50 users and 50 MFPs. So if we install the application on the MFP, that's a unit. If there's a user that's printing, that's a unit as well.
Okay, fine. And what, let's say the organization scales up. Yeah, we're gonna need, this fee would have to go up then, right?
Yeah, we'd have to go up. Um, there's a couple of different levels in there, but I will tell you, in this case, I mean, if they really wanted to, you could go for 500 units for $500, or the next level above that is 1,000 units for $750.
Oh, so
And
we can buy those blocks and apportion them across several customers and fix that cost to us at $1,000, really.
exactly. Now, there's also smaller units for what we call overages. So let's say you have one customer that says, hey, listen, I only have 110 users, and that's the only deal you want to do. We could add in a block of 50 for an additional $70. So,
All
for
right.
example, if you had 100 users, you pay 250, and then they say, well, wait a second, I've got actually 150 users. It'd be three something there. What am I looking at? My math skills are not too good this morning. So you'd be looking at $320 a month at that point.
Oh,
And
I
then
see.
obviously we'll move you through, if you start off at the 250, we'll move you through packages as you add up. So, maybe this customer, you go in at 250 a month, and then you got another customer that's what, 600. Our natural
Mhm.
progression to say, okay, we'll move you up to the 1,000 for 750 instead of trying to do another 600 and 100 or something like that.
Fair enough. All right. What's that setup fee gonna look like?
So um, setup fee is at the professional services hourly fee is what am I looking at here?
I think it's
Um,
250
so
or
we get
something.
there's what's called the setup fee, which is there's a couple of different ways of doing this. I believe it's about $200 an hour, and in this case, you're looking at about 6 hours. Now, what you can also do is there's a professional services package, which is about $1,500, and that includes 10 hours a month. So that's a monthly, but there's a minimum on that for 12 months. So if you do one or two transactions and you see this as, hey, this is a great thing, we can get you into that subscription, and then you can use up to 10 hours of service per month.
I see. All right. What are the key recommendations from the rules perspective you would have for this plan?
So for this client, it's going to be a little bit hard because typically, and I'll go into this what if analysis. So this is a neat little tool which we didn't talk about at this point, but you can see by the current system, if we were to say, let's take a look at the web and email, and if we were to reduce that color output, right, which we know we can't at this point, but if we cut that in half, if we reduced it to 50%, at this point we could save them 6% of their total spend. If we were to increase duplexing, and this probably isn't gonna matter much, but if we were to increase duplexing, let's see how many. So if we increase their duplexing by another 50%, we could drop them out another 9,000 pages of paper from being printed, and that reduces their spend about 10%. When you go into a secure print functionality, so when you do the pull print system where they're actually releasing jobs at the MFPs, when you do something like a rules-based printing, we usually see an average of about 15 to 20%. But in this customer, I mean, they may have to do a lot of printing by nature. Even if we target it at 10, by doing all this, that's an actual 20% total savings, right? I don't think we're going to hit those targets, to be honest, in this environment. So if I did the web and email color printing by 10%, and if I even said the duplexing by 10%, you're now looking at a 12% savings overall, which, to be honest, is pretty good in this environment, considering how much duplexing they're actually doing at this point.
All right. That scares me a bit because what I'm getting from you is that the environment, the print audit is validating that the environment is doing very well to the extent that they may not need the software tool.
Well, I guess it comes down to a couple things, right? They've already seen some value in it. They've already seen some audit trail on specific stuff. This here component is to say, how can we optimize their environment? They may see other things in their data that we can optimize on. So, for example, those that dental health record, we could actually probably stop that from being produced altogether, and that was about 1,000 pages a month. Right. So we may look at very specific things to say, let's focus in on the non-business printing, just simply because this originally, as you can see, was designed to do web and email, color conversion, and duplexing, because those are the two easiest areas to optimize in an environment. They already have that done. So at that point, they might want to get into some finer details to say specific applications within Chrome, specific web addresses in Chrome, they're not allowed to print in color. Maybe it might be out like.
I'm, I'm being a financial controller here. And I guess I will have to give you some more accurate figures to work with and probably get that from the client. Going back to the screen that you had, even if we were to target 10% each,
Yes.
you it's not it's yeah, right, this screen. From a financial controller perspective, it's almost like we're saying to them, spend 250 US dollars for with us every month to just save $219.45. That's not value.
Well, and again, you got to think of it like this, right? There's other values in this system that they're going to provide. They are looking for a follow me print solution.
Yes, yes, we need that.
This is what will do it, right? This is all in this
Oh,
package.
okay. Yeah, okay, good. Follow me. What else do they need again? Okay, the fact that you're getting visibility is a good selling point.
So you got to remember for this customer, right? So let's say you just give it to them as a pass through at $250 a month. At
Hmm.
$250 a month, they got a full audit trail of all their printing. They've got a follow me print solution, and they can use card authentication right at the HPMFPs as well. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in
Okay.
there that
Now
they're
we're
going to
talking.
get.
Now we're talking. Actually, they will be sold from the perspective of the audit trail. I mean, they're an investigative body, so at least they know that they're policing themselves
Yeah,
internally, and
yeah.
they have a methodology through which they can track how documents are dealt with. So that by itself, that I think is going to be the clincher for them. And the fact that they have the controls and stuff in place, card authentication, that's good. What other value added are there?
So let me. I tell you what. I'm going to shift gears on you here. I'm going to bring up my demo site.
Oh, by the way, and another point is when they sensitize users to the fact that their printing is being tracked, by default it's expected to be reduced, and that will add to the savings portion there. So the volumes of 10 to 15,000 pages per month can be cut down and therefore yield additional savings there. So, okay, those are the angles we're going to have to take.
Yeah, and bear with me. I'm just logging into my demo site here. So, have you seen the printout at six replacement IUM?
Not as yet, but I'm
Yeah.
trying to get a 2,500 seat customer to upgrade to it. And that I think is going to be on the other end of the spectrum here because I think their printing environment really needs to be properly managed. So that's where you guys are going to come in.
So as you can see here, this is IUM. So this is the printout at six replacement. Okay. In this system, and I'm going to go into the administration side here, you'll see that we've got a whole, like it's completely different the way it works up. You can change a whole bunch of things onto the things like logos, as you can see, email logos and report logos. But the real thing that hits the road right now is the secure print. So in this case here, it does do the follow me print. So you can print one area, you can release it to any printer within the environment. I don't know how popular this is in Jamaica, but I know in the US this is really popular, which is called Google Cloud Print. Are you familiar with that?
I'm familiar with it. I don't think it's being utilized as much here though. But hey,
Yeah.
things can change, right?
Yeah, we've got a direct integration into it. The other thing, which is a great feature that a lot of people are really liking right now, is what we call release codes. So I'll give you a scenario in this. Junior, you've asked me for a document. You say, hey, can you print off that document for me? I'm too busy to do it. And instead of me printing it off and walking over to your desk and dropping it off at your desk, when I print it, it gets held at the secure server. I put in a 4-digit code, and then you can walk up to the MFP, type in that 4-digit code, and your print job and my print job comes out for you.
All right, that's follow me printing. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a whole bunch of systems on there. If I go into the embedded applications onto the copiers, and I'll show you the HP. So there's a couple things. Authentication. In this case, I've got it as card or an ID number. I've got it set up for card registration. So that means that if the cards aren't in the system, you walk up, you tap your card on the system, it's going to say, okay, who are you? You plug in your credentials, and then it registers your card to you, so you don't have to load this stuff in. The
All
other,
right.
okay, that's a couple of those items in there
They
that are
use
easily.
ID card to access the building and various floors and all that. So this is a good. Yeah, so this is helping us because they will need some card readers to
Yeah,
install that. No, consider the software sold. That's the fact that it's going to help to enhance their environment and enhance the profile of their IT team. Really. So I think that is going to be the key driver or the key motivation to implement this software. And of course, your voice in validating that the environment is running above average in terms of best practices, that is also very good. So, yeah, they're going to be getting this software not so much for the savings because they don't have an abusive environment. This is an opportunity for them to move into the next level, really, which is what they pride themselves on.
yeah, and I will tell you the other thing that you can do. I just wanted to show you two things because unfortunately I'm gonna have to jump off because I do have another meeting coming up.
Hmm.
But with the HPs, we've got the ability now where you can actually restrict certain things. So if you said all color, when an end user walks up to a device, if they don't have the right permission levels, we can say you're not allowed to do any color printing on the MFP. You can only do mono. You can only do mono copying on the MFP. So we can restrict it by group. So in this case here, let's say the sales group is not allowed to print color or
Hmm.
not allowed to make color copies at the MFP when they walk up. The other, I'll show you one last thing here quickly. If I go into the print queues, if you have a customer who says, I want follow me print, but I only have single function printers, we can hook up what are called network card releases. It's a little hardware, essentially it's a little black box with a card reader. The end user can walk up to that single function printer, tap their card on the reader, and the print job automatically comes out. They don't even have to go through an interface.
Okay. All right. That's fine. Um, these are good things to know, and I think that for the Indecom process, if I can get the dates that you have recommended for next week, I do
Yeah.
believe my calendar has some openings. Bear in mind, next week Wednesday is a public holiday here in Jamaica, so let's rule that off the books.
Okay. You know what? If
Uh,
that's the case, do you want to? I mean, we could always defer it past because I know people like to book holidays around public holidays, right? Especially in the middle of a week. I mean, well, I'll tell you what. I'll give you some times next week. We'll see what happens, and if not, we can always push it back the week after.
No, actually, I want it to happen next week because a week after, we'll be traveling
Okay.
for training, right? And remember, March 31st is the end of the fiscal year. This is a public sector account, so we'd want to implement our solution in time for the new financial year beginning April 1st. So we want them to
Okay.
code this into their budgets.
Now
So it has
let
to
me
be
ask.
next week.
Okay, so let me ask you this: with this meeting, would you want me to go through the data and then show them the new product?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So let's just agree to the sequence. Go over the data quickly, highlight the points of interest there.
Yeah,
Then we can look into the value that print audit is already delivering, and the extra value added services.
yeah,
With the key recommendations being follow me printing, there are audit trail capability, and to use card authentication in particular.
yeah.
And from there, you'll take over the discussion to show them the price, so we
Perfect.
can just close it at that point. I think that would be a good sequence and strategy.
That sounds like a great sequence at this point. Okay, no
So,
problem, Junior.
give me dates for
I'll give you two times for every day except for Wednesday. How's that?
that would be good. That would be
Okay,
good.
no problem. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I got to jump off now because I got to get over to this meeting. But you'll see an email from me in a little bit, Junior, right after I have this meeting, and then we'll talk about this one.
No problem. And we appreciate your time and support. This is very, very good information, very impressive, and I'm glad to know that the support is there for us to move forward. Our next project will be Sagicor, and I can tell you the results are going to be. This is going to be a great case study for you guys. So we'll have to prepare ourselves for that.
Appreciate that. Okay, that sounds good. Thank you so much, Junior. Appreciate it.
Enjoy your day.
Bye now.
Uh, Take care. All right.